Okay, let's see how this works. Thought I'd do something a little bit different today. This is for the extra credit session. So we're going to be talking today, or I'm going to be talking to you for a brief bit about a controversial subject. I usually do this as an in-class discussion, bringing pizza in, let you guys sit down, but obviously with everything that's going on, we can't do that. So the topic is going to be creationism versus evolution. And I know this is a bit of a touch subject for some people. So I want to set some ground rules first and foremost for what we're doing. We're having a discussion. We're not having a debate. We're not trying to prove anybody right. We're not trying to prove anybody wrong. Okay, what we want to do is just have a discussion about the controversy as it is, the effects that it has on us as a society, and what sort of things we can do for ourselves to not let this go too far and have adverse impacts on us. So with that said, there's a reason I don't want this to be a debate at all, and that is that for many people, their belief system is a very, very significant part of who they are. And as such, if you try to have a typical debate, you have to understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to prove somebody is right and somebody is wrong. And that's going to annoy me for a while. Let's see if I can make it stop. Anyways, if you do that with somebody's belief system, you end up creating a situation where you are inadvertently giving them the feeling that they're being personally attacked. And that feeling will then lead to them reacting appropriately in their mind, which usually means that it devolves down from a debate into an argument. And it can get even worse from there. So we're not trying to do that here. We're just trying to have a discussion. And the reason I do this is, on average, a significant portion of the students I have had over the years have been looking at going into education. And at some point, if you're an educator, this is likely to crop up and potentially cause problems. So I want to give my students at least some sort of an inoculation against it to help them understand where things are coming from, what is going on, and just the basis of understanding on it. Now, let's start off with the question of, can we really compare evolution and creationism? Is it really a fair comparison? I would submit to you that technically it is not. I think you would have to change the way we're talking about it from creationism and evolution to creationism versus science. And the reason is very simple. Creationism basically covers everything about why the universe is here, why we are here, why the earth is here, why animals are here. Evolution, on the other hand, only really deals with the fact that life changes over time. Doesn't deal with how life started, does not deal with where the universe came from. It only really deals with the fact that life does change over time, and the evidence for it, and then our theory for why that happens. So we have to kind of set those grounds for that portion of the debate. On the other side, we also have to realize that when we say the word creationism, we're really only dealing with a very small subset of all of the religions in the world. We're only dealing with the Judeo-Christian creation myth, rather than, say, the creation myth of the ancient Greeks or the Peloponnesians or the Buddhist or the Taoist, whatever, the Mayans, the Shawnee, the Sioux, the Chickasaw. all these other societies that have their own religion and their own creation myth. We're not dealing with all of those. We're only dealing with the Judeo-Christian myth or story, however you want to put it. So when we talk about this, we have to realize that both science and religion are attempting to answer the same question at the same time. Both are trying to answer the question of, why are we here? What is the meaning of life? And no, the answer not necessarily is 42. And if you know that reference, more power to you. Both are trying to understand why we're here. They're just coming at it from different directions. Religion uses the power of faith and the understanding. Some people would argue that religion takes the mystery out of the world. Some people would argue that religion embraces the mystery by making the mystery God. On the other hand, those who talk about science or evolution would say that science embraces the mystery by admitting that we don't know. But generally speaking, science uses the rigors of the scientific method to explore the world around us, rather than a belief system. Now, there are some people out there who will try to tell you that science is a religion. There may be some people who come at it from a dogmatic standpoint in the way they treat science, but science in and of itself is not, because keep in mind, part of the scientific method is the idea of testing things over and over again and rejecting what does not hold up. So science will change over time. Religion doesn't really do that. So let's get down to the point of evolution versus creationism. Evolution is the idea that life changes over time. We have proof of that. We have proof on that on the small scale in terms of bacteria, or even, as is apropos right now, viruses. COVID-19, which doesn't mean it's the 19th one that was discovered. It was found in 2019. COVID-19 is a relatively new virus, at least new to human beings. It has evolved to infect humans, but it's the same as many of the other viruses and bacteria in the world, in that you go back to World War II, 70, 80 years ago now. In World War II, one of the primary drugs if you were ill was penicillin. Penicillin cured most bacterial infections. Today, you don't use penicillin at all, for all intents and purposes, to fight a bacterial infection. And the reason for that is that those bacterial infections have become resistant or immune to the effects of penicillin. So we have to have something newer, something stronger. We can also look at this in terms of animals, plants and animals. The cow that we raise and kill today for food is nothing like the aurochs that we used to hunt and that we started to domesticate thousands of years ago. Same thing for sheep or goats. They're similar, but they're not the same. There are some types of sheep and goats and cows that might not actually be able to survive if humans disappear. Same thing with plants. Corn. Corn is very, very different today than it was when the ancestors in North America, or in the Americas, I should say, first ate it as maize. What they ate was vastly different than what we eat as corn. In fact, most of the corn that we eat could not reseed itself because the kernels won't let go of the cob. So that material, if it wasn't for humans, would probably go extinct very rapidly. There are other examples we can think of, like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. They're all derived from the same original plant. It's just the way that we crossbred them and selected for specific traits in a form of genetic modification. genetic modification through breeding, which is kind of what happens with evolution. Certain traits, the idea in evolution, the main idea behind the theory of evolution, is that certain traits give an advantage. Okay? Now, some people have mischaracterized this as survival of the fittest. Not exactly the best term, not exactly the best application of the term. What they really probably should say is survival of the fittest at the time, or the best adapted at the time. Take a look at humans, okay? We, in the animal world, are fairly pathetic in terms of our physical capabilities. We're pretty easy to kill. I mean, it's you don't hear about it too often, but a simple fall, trip and fall, can kill somebody by causing their neck to break in just the right way. The skull pretty good at taking impacts front-wise, side-wise could kill us. We're not particularly strong. We're not particularly fast. Take a look at a chimpanzee. Chimpanzees tend to be, on average, slightly smaller than a normal human adult, male or female. And yet, chimpanzees, without thinking, a full-grown chimpanzee could rip your arm off without thinking about it. We're not particularly well armored. We don't have poison claws. We don't have, I gotta fix this as it adjusts. We don't have a lot of armor. You put us up against any other animal in a physical fight, and we're probably going to get the worst of it. That being said, we do have an advantage in our ability to think and communicate. And we have used that advantage to make tools, to build the world that we see around us, to eliminate animal species that would kill us, frankly. We don't suffer things that could destroy us very well. So with that said, that's the idea basically behind evolution, is that the life is changing over time, and our hypothesis or our theory is the mechanics behind it. The why does that happen? Creationism presupposes that all life was created in its shape and form as it is now. There are some creationists who will then go on to say that there was some sort of microevolution, as they want to call it, from time to time, basically saying that one animal diversified into other types, so that but lions and tigers were all big cats, but they were created as lions, created as tigers. They didn't evolve from a common ancestor. Same thing for humans and great apes. In science, we know that humans and the apes have a common ancestor, but we didn't evolve directly from them. We had an ancestor we shared in common. Whereas in creationism, it is the idea that it was just formed that way. So basically, we go on with that like that in the debate. Now, the question really that I want you guys to start thinking about is, do we have to have this as an adversarial nature? Does creationism and evolution have to clash? Do we have to have this as as something where the two cannot coexist? I think there might be in certain areas, for me personally, I think that there are certain areas where the two should not coexist. I do not think the two should be taught in the classroom as co-equals. I do not think that we should misinterpret what science means either. I think that we are unfortunately seeing in our world today a lot of the danger that downplaying science has created for us. Just to think about it, you've had people who, in order to protect themselves from COVID-19, have tried gargling with bleach. Just nightmarishly unintelligent, if not stupid, to think of. So my concern is that we don't need to dumb ourselves down. We need to understand science. We need to appreciate science. But that doesn't mean that one can necessarily have to abandon their beliefs. There are people out there who hold their beliefs and study science. That's not a problem for me, at least. But what I want you guys, I'm going to try to keep this short because, like I said, normally when I do this, I let you guys do all the talking. I'm trying not to pontificate too much on what I believe, although that's inherently going to have to happen to some degree. But what I want you guys to do is respond to this video and upload either your own video, a paper, an art project even if you want. But I want you guys to respond to this and how you think something like this might or should work in terms of how do we keep evolution and creationism in check as they should be? How do we treat them as the same side of the coin, or it's not the same side, different sides of the same coin, in that they are both trying to answer the same idea or same quandary, but in different manners. So I'm going to leave it at that, again, keeping it short, but your assignment for extra credit is to give me a solution, give me an idea, a presentation of some sort. Now, if you do it as a video, I want 5 minutes. 5 minutes is all I want. That should be long enough for you to be able to expound an idea. If it's a paper, probably a page and a half to 2 pages. And if it's something else, well, we'll see what it is. But you're doing this for extra credit, so I'm not going to be too nitpicky on how you do it. But that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys later.